All right, guys. Welcome back
We were just in Australia.
to another episode of F1 My Life. We weren't in Australia.
It would be great if we were.
F1 was in Australia.
I miss that. I miss being where F1 is.
what do you
Just
mean?
Mexico. That was a long time.
I don't think we were in Mexico during the Mexican Grand Prix.
No, we were just in Mexico during a Grand Prix.
During-
so I just felt like, I felt
yeah,
bougie.
during a Grand Prix.
I know, I felt bougie. I was
No,
just like,
no, it wasn't. Was it during a Grand Prix?
oh, no,
I
you're
know-
right, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
wasn't.
I know. I was in Mexico.
You were.
For a Grand Prix
Yep,
once.
I lived vicariously
And I
through
took
you.
my Red Bull jersey and I went to like the sports bar there to watch F1 with some other Red Bull fans because Mexico, everyone's a Checo fan,
I
right?
heard that wrong, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, you were watching it on like a tiny little screen and then somebody like,
I don't know how they didn't have the race playing. It's in Mexico. How do you not have the race? It's a sports bar and they don't have the Formula One race playing, which was really weird. So, and there were so many people coming by the bar, like asking for the bar,
The
Canadian, the bar. You're by the bar.
you sound so... I can hear, the more I'm here, I can hear the Canadian. Like,
It's Canada, though,
everyone's saying Etobicoke in different ways. Like, I know where you're from. When you say Etobicoke, I'm like,
Etobicoke.
I know. Yeah. Oh, Etobicoke. Like, Lance Stroll sounds
Watch it.
Canadian.
You live here? Watch
I
it.
know.
Watch it.
Yeah.
What if Justin Trudeau watches this podcast?
I don't know. I'm mixed thoughts right now. Just give me my PR. Seriously, give me my PR.
What was I gonna say?
But you were in Mexico.
Yeah, we were in Mexico and they weren't playing the F1 race. It was so odd.
Yeah, I don't
for
know.
that. Yeah, but like you were saying, I ended up finding a guy who was like streaming it on his phone and we watched it like
So
on that.
stupid.
It was so dumb. I was fully expecting, I'm like, yeah, this is Mexico. They're obviously gonna show the race. He's the only Mexican Formula One driver.
Yeah.
I think ever?
No.
No,
Not ever.
they've been more?
Yes.
I don't know, man. But I was just like, that was
You didn't,
ridiculous.
like, watch Formula One.
Wow.
The haters are
We're not even going to talk about it.
funny. No,
We're
I'm
not-
going to talk about it. I can talk about it. This is
Why?
half my podcast.
Why?
I think it's so funny when people it's hilarious, right? So like nobody knows everything about a thing that they specialize in. Like nobody knows everything about it. And I swear people on the internet are so funny. Like I'm grateful that I'm older and that I'm in motherhood in my life and I've had like a long career so far and like I don't have I have like the confidence and I'm not like fazed by it
Yeah.
because otherwise I would just sit there and cry or like play, comment wars with people.
Yeah.
Which I don't do.
Go
a
down
lot.
the rabbit hole, yeah.
I do go down the rabbit hole a little bit. We're both sarcastic, but like it's just funny to me. But that's just fun. That's all I was
Yeah.
gonna give to our haters. Our haters are funny. Thank you for watching.
Somebody, I mean, to that point, this isn't like some kind of motivational like podcast or whatever. I mean, I guess it is, depending if it motivates you. But I read something, or I heard something on another podcast. They're like, there's a 30-30-30 rule, or something along those lines, because that adds up to 90, obviously. 33-33. It's like a third. He's like, a third of people love what you do, a third of people hate what you
Yeah.
do, and a third of people don't even know you do it.
Yeah.
He's like, that's how it kind of plays out. And like, but the thing is, you put anything out on social media
Yeah.
or on any kind of like platform like this, you're going to get people who are just like, they have nothing better to do than to hate. But
I love the
it's-
people who aren't who are just so they have no idea about Formula One and they message me at least once a week being like, hey, I watched your podcast. I watched all the reels. And I'm like,
for any like negative kind of comments that you get online, there's always like people who, and I know a lot of people probably watch this and don't comment, but the viewership, like we can see the viewership. So like it's all good. And there's people who do comment and say like they find what we do funny or they comment or they interact, which is good. So it's like there's always going to be haters. The internet
I just find it funny.
Just makes it easier.
I just find it fun.
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
I find it hilarious. Too.
I truly find it hilarious.
But
I was gonna wear my Red Bull jersey today, but
Gonna
I thought
have
it
to
would be a
burn 'em soon.
waste. No, I thought it would be a waste. I guess I should wear it
Max.
before like Max Verstappen leaves for like Mercedes or friggin' I don't even know what.
Haas.
There are so many rumors. I
Welcome
don't
back
even
to the
care.
podcast, guys. This is the post-Australia podcast. I don't
Oh
even know if we
yeah.
did an intro.
We didn't. My name is Bria,
This is Cam.
and this is Milo.
And this is the F1 My Life
And as
podcast.
always, our son is asleep
Yeah.
when we do these.
We just watched the Australian Grand Prix. I don't know where you want to start.
Honestly, Australia was great. I enjoy Australia. My favorite thing is like every year that we go to Australia, people like complain about how inopportune the time is for us. And a part of me is like so amazed that people, like, I know we did this before we had our child, but like a part of me is so amazed at the people that like get up and watch it live every time there's a race. Like we record it and then we just shut down social media. Like we don't look at social media. We don't talk to anyone who watches F1. Like
Until we can watch it.
until we can watch it.
Yeah.
But I just find it so hilarious because like people are like, Australians are like, we always have to get up at like 4:00 in the morning to watch these races, and this is the one race that works for us. I don't know why, I just find it so funny every year that like people get so butthurt about it.
I think they try to cater towards
Europe.
Like, the European time
of
zones.
course.
So anyone outside of that, for the most part, I mean, across Europe and maybe parts of Asia, you might be okay to watch the races. But yeah, North America, Australia, any countries that are like way outside of that kind of get
Who
kind of
cares?
get screwed.
Just
But yeah, but like yeah, you
record
can
it.
you can record it, or if you have the app, you can
Sky
watch it
Sport.
that way.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
Sponsorship.
that's all. Yeah, sponsor our podcast. Jeez, Birdcast.
Do people still do the hashtag?
No.
Okay.
No one's done that in like
great.
10 years.
It's not been 10. So the race was really cool, but like I want to talk. So I want the schedule to look like
What?
quali. We talk about the race and then we finish with tea
Okay, I guess. Quali.
because tea takes up all of the time.
Who wants
And
to
we
talk
go on
about
tangents.
Who wants to talk about
Quali.
quali?
All I want to talk about from
Go,
quali is
go.
that Albon crashed and then got Logan Sargent's car for
yeah.
his birthday.
Yeah.
It was Alex Albon's birthday. That he almost lost it on like what was it, the first lap, or was it the formation lap? He almost put it in the
Alex?
wall at that time too. Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about how all that played out?
Okay. So we did a poll. Whatever. I forgot to post the results because I like whatever. But I don't think it's fair what they did, but it made sense. So it was like unfair to like the driver, but
Yeah.
like logical in the fact that it was like a team decision. I guess I know it doesn't like really matter all that much, but Alex Albon was doing a really good job. Like he was actually like, we talked about him last week, and I think he deserves like a seat in a car. I don't know, maybe he doesn't, but like I think he deserves a seat in a car next year. I think he deserves to graduate from Williams at one point. I don't think he deserves a Red Bull yet. But like I understand why they did it, but it just sucked. As like every driver, even Max said, he's like, this is an impossible situation. Like no driver wants to be in this like situation. Like Max has crashed his car. Like Perez has crashed his car. So many of these people have crashed their cars and then not been, like Stroll, I think, had it happen to him. And even his daddy didn't say, oh, we're going to just take Alonso or whoever else was in the car at the time, or Seb, and give it to Lance Stroll.
Yeah, but I think this has a lot to do with the like changes in the cost regulations. They said they couldn't afford
Yeah,
to
that's
get to
true.
repair, or I don't think it's either they didn't have one or
They didn't have a
couldn't-
chassis.
Yeah, they didn't bring one with them.
Plus, it would have just been astronomically expensive to run both cars when you know Logan Sargent's just going to crash it anyways.
Yeah.
He is.
They said no. I think they said they didn't bring a chassis with them, which is why they opted to just put Alex Albon in the car. And but it is what it is. Like, I mean, if that decision needs to be made, because like the thing is, and this is with any kind of team order, like at the end of the day, every driver wants to win and every driver wants to like be up there. But at the end of the day, you're part of a team. You're only driving because there's a team there to build you a car, and like financial money coming in to get you there. Like without all of that, you wouldn't be sitting in the car and driving around.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if there are team orders, you can't really ignore that, especially if you're not like, I think it kind of changes when you're like a top driver, like a Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, those kind of guys. Like you can tell when they kind of like stick it to their team and go against like team orders because they have a little bit of leverage being these great drivers, right? But
What
when you're
if George had put it in the wall and it was between him and Lewis? What do you think would have happened? Or if Lewis put it in the wall and they didn't
Yeah.
have a chassis,
Oh, like
it would
right
have
now?
driven George, right?
yeah, they would have left George in there. Of course,
what I
he's
thought.
been beating him. I mean, that just makes sense. If it was the other way around, though, if George crashed, I mean, I think Lewis Hamilton, though, that's a different story. Like, out of respect, they probably would have let him, like, you know, drive his own car. But
I don't
yeah.
know.
I don't think it would go
Do
the
you
other.
remember when George drove Hamilton's car? When Hamilton had COVID?
Yeah,
Well, that was a hard one for
That
you,
was
Georgie.
heartbreaking.
That was heartbreaking.
when he lost
And
that.
Australia was just as heartbreaking for you, if not
Yeah.
more.
Heartbreaking.
Well, it was heartbreaking.
Heartbreak testing.
Oh, well, we'll get there. So that was just literally it from quali. That's all I wanted. Because, like, I mean,
interrupted me. Wow.
I mean, it's fine. It's like, it was just kind of like, I know that it was the right decision to make, but I just was like, this feels wrong. Like, it felt wrong.
What?
Like, watching that happen. Like, Logan just being like, okay, I'm going to sit on the
Yeah, no, it made
sidelines.
total sense. To me, anyway, it made sense. Like, it sucks for him, but to me, it made sense. Like,
I was a bit more emotional about it.
yeah.
It's kind of dumb.
I thought it made a lot of sense. Like, why would you, if you only have one car and you need to score points, it's so early, right? Because development's going to change and Alex can put the car and
Yeah, that's
he
true.
can finish in a great spot. So, like, at the end of the
can.
day, you got to think of a team and because it pays
it
everyone's bills, right? They get money if they finish at the end of the day in certain spots, right? So,
Yeah. Didn't make any difference, though.
Yeah, I know, right?
So the race was interesting. I just want to quickly say, because I think, I don't know, if I saw this, I'd be weirded out. So we have a Dachshund Chihuahua, and he likes to be covered. Milo was doing
I'm
this
pretty
thing
sure people know that.
where he was like up, and then I was like, oh, he wants
Yeah,
to
man.
like have a blanket over him.
doesn't
So
like to see a puppy
I
on a
didn't
podcast?
suffocate him.
There's a puppy on a podcast.
I
man.
know, but I only put him under the blanket because he likes to be under the blanket. He was looking at me and he was like, blanket. And I was like, okay, sorry. So we do this to our dog because he likes to burrow.
Let's get started on the race stuff.
Yeah, man.
So first off, did Sainz get pole?
No.
No.
Max got
Verstappen
pole.
did, right?
It was
Okay.
Max Sainz. Checo got degraded
Yeah.
or downgraded or whatever you want to call it, 3 places for impeding one of the Haas's.
That's right.
I think it was Hulkenberg.
Yeah.
And that's where it got just lovely.
Point being, the race started. Sainz took the lead very early on. Max was chasing, and then he had a brake issue.
Yeah, that whole thing was just a mess.
And he DNF'd, and that ended his streak of I don't know how many races consecutively
43.
of like
Finishing.
finishing, right?
Since 2022 Australia.
Yeah.
It was literally since Australia, it came full circle. Australia just
But-
isn't good for him.
I mean, I get it. A lot of people don't like to they go bad on Max a little bit, but like to accomplish that is absolutely amazing. Like if you think about it, to get through every race, to get through 43 races?
43 races.
44, 40 something races to the first corner. Like that first corner is sketchy. To make it through every single one and for the team to build such a reliable car that nothing breaks down for like 40 some
Yeah.
odd races is insane. To keep it so clean for that many races is like insane. And that all kind of came to a head. Something I guess was bound to happen. Like these cars, they build them and they drive them to such a limit that something is probably bound to happen or break, or somebody's going to miss something. Like no team is 100% perfect, right?
I think Christian said it really well, and I think somebody else said it really well. They were like, he hasn't had a DNF since that time.
Yeah.
So, although I'm surprised because I'm pretty sure I remember something happening it was 2022 then.
What?
Was that the thing that happened? Remember the thing with the tires? Pirelli
where it
tires,
like exploded.
yeah. Was that? Because I feel like that was the last time I remember
That was him and somebody else, but he was
Lance
leading.
Stroll.
He was leading that race.
Lance
Remember?
Stroll. Lance Stroll was the other one who
And the
exploded.
tire exploded on
Maybe
him.
that was. I have to go back and check. I don't know. I don't remember. But
I don't know why I think it was Baku.
Well, then it doesn't make sense that he finished every single race.
What do you mean?
Like, unless this happened before 2022.
I think it did.
Okay,
It
well,
must have
we'll
because
look it up.
yeah. So I mean,
Like so what they were saying is like they built this car and the team, so the pit stops, the team principal, the driver, and the car have all worked in harmony for the last 43 races.
yeah, man.
So the fact that that fact stands true is a huge deal. Like,
Yeah, the like everything went like
so
so
like
perfectly.
it's bound to, you're bound to either have human error as a driver or bound to have error in the car at one point. And the fact that it's taken almost 2 years for that to happen is kind of unheard
That's
of.
a testament to like the entire team.
Yeah, that's
Like
what I was saying.
The engineers, like exactly what you're saying, but like for everything to go so perfectly for that long is like insane. Like everybody was on the top of their game.
So that being said, I mean, like, yeah, I know Max was like, obviously anyone would be disappointed. As a fan, I was disappointed because like I like to see like variations in the race, but I do like Max as a driver. There's no like question about that, but like it is hard. It was hard for me to see that, but at the same time, he wasn't as ticked off, I feel like, as a lot of people were making it out to be because he was like, well, this is out of my control. And from what I understand so far, it was out of the team's control.
But you don't want to see like a top driver go out in that fashion.
In the second lap, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just have a technical thing and then you retire the car. It's like completely out of his hands.
No.
You don't want to see that happen, and it sucks when it happens. And you know, everyone has. I know the memes and like put a tape over Max's name and let's watch the race like that. Like it's like okay, yeah, whatever, I get it. Anyone could say the same thing about Lewis for the past like 6 years or
years.
whatever, you know. But I don't know. It is what it is. It sucks to see like a top tier driver go out like that.
It was really impressive that he got it back to the pit, though.
Yeah.
Because all the other things that happened in the race were like they stopped on the track, or I mean, obviously there were some that were unfortunate and you couldn't stop on the track or whatever. But like he was able to break it, get it back to the pits really quickly, which was really good.
It is what it is. I mean,
like,
I don't know if
whatever.
that was the right decision because like the brake exploded while he was rolling down the pit lane. That's like probably the most dangerous place where that can happen because there's so many
Yeah.
people there, right? So, I mean, like they obviously like if you're retiring, you're retiring. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like where
I don't think
where
he
you
anticipated
stop.
that black
So
plume.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure the team all they care about is like, keeping obviously himself safe and the car intact and everybody else safe as well. So
Yeah.
I'm sure they would make if they thought it was the right decision to bring him in and not leave the car on the track, like
Yeah.
whatever. So I mean, you don't know what you're dealing with at the end of the day. It just looks like the brake is on fire. It's like, yeah, you can like limp it back
Yeah.
to the pit. So that's what he did. But
It was pretty crazy though because like you saw him overtake him and it looked too easy, and it was lap 2. But then Carlos just like took it and ran with it. Like
Yeah.
he really drove the crap out of that Ferrari.
so Max DNFs, and then I think shortly after Lewis DNFs as well.
Hamilton. So Max was lap 2. Hamilton was lap like 17. He retired due to an engine failure.
Yeah, the engine
He's like
just
the
failed.
engine's failed.
Yeah.
And he was talking about all weekend how the car didn't feel right and how, like, he just didn't feel connected with the car. And Toto was even saying, like, Lewis just doesn't have, like, a good setup with it. The setup backfired or whatever it is. So I wasn't surprised that he didn't do well, but I was surprised that, like, his engine failed. So then that all happens within...
Just gonna fix your mic here.
was
Remember I always tell you to point it to your face?
So, like, it was crazy because it was just like that thing that happened with the Pirelli tires a few years ago. Like, you're sitting there and you're holding your breath like Checo. Oh, so this was interesting. I forgot about this until just now. So you're sitting there watching Jack Checo and George Russell, like, a lot more closely, because you're like, okay, the cars are the same, essentially. What's going to happen to the other Red Bull and the other Mercedes? But remember, I was telling you that they were worried about the downforce that caused that, like, feeling that the handbrake was on the entire time that caused the fire for Max. So they changed something on the front wing when they brought Checo in for a pit stop to reduce the chance that he would also DNF with the same issue.
Interesting. I'm not sure about that.
I read about it 100%.
Oh, it's a confirmed thing.
Yeah, it's confirmed,
I didn't think they could tweak like things like that on the car.
Yeah, and then like the whole thing with like the tear-offs and Ocon and ending up in like the little brake duct area or whatever.
Yeah, the tear-offs is a weird thing. Like that happens. That's happened a lot in previous races where the tear-offs have ended up in like weird places in the car that have caused issues. And even Martin Brundle was commentating and saying that there should be something. He was suggesting that maybe there should be like a little compartment in the car where you can put them in there because. I mean, you're literally just taking a piece of plastic off of the visor and like throwing it.
Or they were talking about an area that you can do it. Like they're going to designate an area of the track where you have to do the tear off.
The whole point is like...
If it gets like dirty.
Yeah, but the whole point is like if you can't see, you need to tear it off.
Right, but they're thinking, this is like me going deep into the whatever again.
But then where would you stick it?
So like, no, they're saying like you do the tear off at a specific like portion of the track.
I understand that, but let's say if you're on the...
They would have like these...
No, I know that.
Things.
But what if you're on the other side? Like you're not in that part of the track.
You're not allowed to do tear off.
Yeah, but then that's extremely dangerous for the driver, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Then what's the point? Yeah, but then you might as well just give them a wipe or something on the visor then.
Yeah, I don't think that's safe. I think I think that's dumb.
But I think it's more dangerous to say you can't tear off until you're at this point. So let's say for example there's water or like there's some kind of spray or somebody's car starts leaking some kind of oil or something, gets on your visor, you can't tear that off until you get to like
that makes no sense.
Yeah, so I think the more like either they have to figure something out, maybe build something into the helmet where it wipes or something along those lines, or like
can you imagine that malfunctioning though, and it's just like spreading like poo all over
not
the
like I mean like just like a wiper. Maybe it's a thing that's on a rail where you just slide it one way and it like cleans it off or something. Or even if they have tear-offs that are built in where they roll up and they don't come off.
But then it'll affect your periphery.
I mean, you can have, if the visor is like from here to here, you can like roll it all the way to the other side. Kind of think of it like a roll of tape, like rolling off the tape on your visor. Do you know what I mean?
Do you want to work for them? Just like go.
And all you would have to do is make it so it's a film that goes back and forth, back and forth. So the more you go back and forth, it just takes more and more layers off. That would be a good idea, right?
You shouldn't air this. You shouldn't air this.
Patent pending.
You should 100% talk to somebody before you air this.
About patenting that. But the downside to that is that like you would probably only have so many like rollovers until it's done. But you could look at footage and see how many average times do guys tear off.
Yeah, I mean they're not given like an infinite amount of tear-offs either. They have like a lot, but I mean... Don't air this. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea.
It is very interesting.
But it's like any kind of innovation. Like somebody should be able to come up with something. Like that just seems like a really archaic
process.
Yeah, to just tear off a piece of plastic and throw it on the track.
You should have been an engineer. Like your brain. Like
I could have been like a doctor.
No, you couldn't have been a doctor.
Why?
You could not have been a doctor. Unless
would have been the worst doctor
unless somebody studied unless literally we together could have been physicians, there's no way.
Why?
Because you don't have the patience and the desire to, I don't know, to learn like that. Like you just don't. You're smart. You're incredibly smart. It's funny because I'd have patients or something and I would be thinking through processes or whatever and I would never tell him obviously like who it is, but Cam would just be like, well, doesn't this make sense? And like, I'd go to work the next day and I'd be like, I went to med school. Like, what? How do you? I don't understand his brain.
I feel like to become an engineer, lawyer, doctor, you don't need to be as intelligent as you do have to just have like insane work ethic.
I haven't seen
That's-
work ethic, but I don't have any common sense.
I feel
have
like-
zero common sense.
but
I have no street smarts.
I have no desire to go through like 20 years of school and do all that crap. Like that's not.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. But I can love learning about things. Like I love to like. It's crazy. I love to learn about everything.
I know. I live with you. I'm
Yeah,
perfectly aware.
it's crazy.
It's so cool. But anyways, that would be a really cool patent.
So,
That's so smart.
Both guys DNF'd. And then, yeah, like, I mean, the race kind of went as the race went. Carlos took the lead. He held it. Mm-hmm. Or did they swap him and Leclerc?
They held position. Remember?
Yeah. So they held position. Carlos went on to win the Grand Prix.
Norris and Piastri, they switched.
Yeah, they
right?
swapped. I remember that. But like I was reading something or I was watching an interview with Norris and he's like, I was gonna catch him and pass him anyway.
Right.
That's what he said. I mean every driver is gonna be like, yeah, he wasn't gonna pass me.
No, Oscar said the same thing. He goes,
Yeah.
ultimately, the reason I let him go and I didn't. And Oscar's really good. Piastri's really good at that. Like, he takes team orders. People are like, oh, they can just, like, roll all over him. I don't think that's the case. He's actually a very intuitive driver. And he was like, he had the faster pace. And I knew that the way to maximize our points and to keep me in the top 5 was to let him through.
Yeah.
So it's like, a lot of these drivers, I feel like, are just too proud to think of that. But he, as like a rookie, like still coming in F1, this is his second year in F1. I think that he's got a lot of like maturity as a driver, and he did great.
Oscar's been doing really well. I think that sign by McLaren, bringing Oscar over, was
good.
Was really good because he seems to really be doing well. I mean, and I was thinking about this, like with everything that's going on with drivers and where they're going and everything. Like every team has a driver who they want to win the actual drivers' championship. The second driver is there to win them the constructors.
Yeah.
Unless like big asterisks if you're Red Bull. But like every other second driver, you want them there to support the lead driver and bring home the constructors championship. That's realistically, that's their only role.
Yeah.
Really. So, I mean, Oscar's pretty much doing that. I feel like you have that same dynamic, obviously, with like Ferrari, Carlos and Charles. The only, obviously, wrench in all this is like Max Verstappen is so dominant that nobody can beat him. So the Drivers' Championship and to a certain extent the Constructors
It's just him.
for the past few years has been like completely out of reach.
Last year, it was just like he just steamrolled everyone.
Yeah.
He could have won the drivers and constructors by himself.
Yeah, that was
Dumb.
insane.
That was dumb.
But
Stupid.
I mean, the race, I don't know, do you have the stats on like how everybody finished?
Yeah, everyone finished. I mean, like, it was interesting. Obviously, Carlos Sainz finished P1, and then P2 you had Charles, which was really cool. And he even said,
1-2 for Ferrari.
I couldn't. He's like, I think a lot of the interviewers asked him, like, could he have caught him? And he's like, no, I couldn't. Like, I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't catch him. He just had really good pace.
He was just like, the only way I could beat him is if I just raced better. That's really all he said.
So, good job, Ferrari. And then it was Norris, Piastri, Perez, Stroll, Sonoda, Alonso, Hulkenberg, Magnussen. So this is interesting. And then Albon, because of course.
Albon, you know? Shouts out
Ricardo.
Albon.
So obviously we
Where
didn't
do you
even
wanna
talk
go?
about the rest of the race here.
Where do you
though.
want to go?
So we didn't talk. So let me go through the rest of the race.
Where
here.
do you
So
want to go?
Obviously, George Russell did not finish the race because
You think?
he DNF'd.
If Carlos
So
wins,
hard.
if Carlos wins a race, George Russell has to put it in the
The
wall.
wall. Yeah.
It's just how it goes.
We finished this on a safety
'Kay.
car. Like it was okay. So we'll get into the whole Alonso George debacle, but like, what was it like 2 laps? The lap before the end of the race.
It was either I think it was like the last or second last
Alonso
lap.
made some questionable braking acceleration.
Listen,
And just listen. He has a 20-second penalty that dropped him from P6 to P8. Really not a big deal. He got 3 penalty points. I read about the license points, by the way. I want to talk about that later. And George... and I should just hold it. And George crashed to nobody's
don't
surprise.
do ASMR on the podcast.
George crashed. He just crashed. He ended up on his side, and he's freaking out. Now, I am not a George Russell fan. We all know that. That's fine. Whatever. I actually did feel like a twang of emotion when he was like on his radio saying like, Mayday, Mayday, I'm in the middle of the track.
Didn't say Mayday though, you know.
Call a red
Said
flag.
red flag.
He just kept saying red flag over and over and
Driving
over
a
again.
car, not a boat.
Wait, why did I hear Mayday? Oh, because of what just happened. So like,
Is Mayday? No, Mayday's for airplanes. Isn't it for? Is it for boats too? It's for boats
I'm
too,
pretty
isn't
sure
it?
it's for boats as well.
Yeah, I wasn't flying a plane or driving a boat. Driving on a phone car. Don't say Mayday.
Red flag, red flag. So I felt really bad about that. I brought it up with Cam, and Cam was like, George is just complaining. And
Dude, he hit the wall. He's like, red flag, red flag. I'm like, dude, it's a safety car. Like, everybody, at the end of the day, cars are going to go through whether it's a
do you
red
want to know
flag or
why
a
he
safety
had that
car.
visceral
I
response?
understand. I get it. You're flipped over. You can't see cars coming. You're
because
scared.
of Antoine and because of like Jules Bianchi and
I
all
mean,
these
anytime,
people.
honestly,
really loud.
anytime anybody crashes on like a track, you can't just be screaming red flag, unless you're in like, I don't like
Grosjean's position.
No, like even Hey, dude, Grosjean was on fire. Dude wasn't screaming red flag.
Well, I mean, he was off the track.
God, even if you're on the track, like I don't know.
I don't know. I don't like George Russell, but I disagree with you.
I understand he like crashed on the track, and like, you know, it was you couldn't see any of the cars coming, and it was going through turns and everything. The second something like that happens, they flip on the yellow flag, and I think they even get a thing on their steering wheel that tells them it's a yellow flag. And then when
Yeah.
it's the area of the crash, it's a double yellow, so you have to slow even more.
Okay, but like it's the last lap of the race. We can agree to disagree on this. I actually am kind of like I understand. I understand why he felt that way. I'm not George's like biggest fan, but I obviously never want any of the drivers to get hurt. That's terrifying.
What does
But it was kind of what the funny part to me because I have to find the humor in this is that they're in the post race room, like the three top, the three drivers that podiumed, and they're like, "Oh, what happened to George? Like it must have been a big crash because they saw like the debris, and then they see the crash and they're like." Well, that's not that bad. Like it was kind of just brushed over really quickly.
Yeah, that
Did
was
you
so
see? Like
cold.
Norris was just like, "Yeah, it's
like, well,
fine.
it ain't that bad.
That's fine."
Meanwhile, George Russell in the car is like, red flag, the race. It's like, dude.
That's such a mean like. I don't know
No,
what the
I mean,
English
you
version
know
is
what?
for that.
You know what it was? They were like saying, they're like, oh, George is like screaming in the car for a red flag. And I was literally watching the TV like, oh my God, what happened? Like, I'm trying to like I'm like, it looked like he just kind of crashed and he was okay. Like,
He lost the car.
what
totally.
happened that like he's screaming for a red flag? Like, like what? Like was he like half like out of the car, like pinned or something? I like because I'm like the second that happens, it's immediate safety car, double yellows in the sector that you crashed at, and generally like they will let the car like. Cause I'm like, dude, like everybody, all the other drivers know they're not flying through there. Like they know you crashed, they can clearly see it. They're gonna slow right down. Some guys slow down to like almost a crawl passing him just to check that he was okay. Like, I think what happened was he crashed. He was in the middle of the track. He was in a position where he couldn't see anything, and he just kind of freaked out a little
People,
bit.
no, I'm not gonna say it on the podcast because it's just not appropriate. But I saw something online that was like, that was so mean about George Russell. They were like,
Was it a meme?
no, it was like a comment. I love the comment section. I find the comment section of everything
Comment sections are
hilarious.
undefeated.
It is the party place. First thing I do is head to a comment section. And they were like, A, is George Russell still wearing diapers? B, why? And then like this like inappropriate thing. And then C, it's like what was George's first like word? Was it red or something like that? And they were taking the literal Mickey out of him. And it was like on the Mercedes page and I just died laughing. I have to tell you about that later. I don't feel comfortable discussing on the podcast. Let's move on.
Oh God.
It was so funny though. It was so funny.
Yeah, I get okay. Like, but that aside, because we're going down like Russell and yelling for a red flag, whatever, dude. Anyway, the things that I was doing some digging on the whole Alonso thing, and they pulled up his data, like his telemetry from what he did, and there's two sides to this story. George Russell is saying that like he brake checked him, and then actually the two sides is what Russell said, which is also confirmed by the telemetry. Like the data that they had showed that
Yeah.
Alonso slowed down way ahead of when he was doing every other lap. It
Yeah.
wasn't like it was an unusual slowdown.
Compared to his historic data, it was
And
weird.
and Alonso said something. Sorry, tired. Alonso said something along the lines of,
It was the weirdest yawn.
I know, man. I try to, when you yawn, you try to hold it in, you're like, yeah, it's contagious. You're yawning. Have you ever done that though?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, it's better to just yawn rather than do this weird thing like you're
Does it
trying
hurt
to
your
like,
neck?
huh?
And like you breathe in too much air and it hurts your like neck.
No,
Okay. That happens
definitely
to me.
go see a doctor. But, but
They looked at his historic data. Okay.
yeah, back on
Whatever.
topic.
I should go see a doctor. I should go see you.
Yeah, man, I am a doctor.
You said that really like.
Doctor. I said it with an Indian accent, kind of. I'm a doctor. That was weird. So weird. It's too late. It's been a long day. I need to sleep. They looked at his. Oh, there she goes. Okay, we're gonna be here for a minute. they they looked at his. They they looked at his historic data, and it. Yeah, no. What Alonso was saying. Are you good? I'm gonna have to cut all of this out. Or should I just leave it in?
I'm sorry.
Because this is ridiculous.
I laughed. I cried
I
because
know.
it's funny.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'm sorry. So dumb. I'm an idiot.
Just keep going. It'll stop.
So, what Alonso? Another yawn. Oh my god. What is happening? Worst podcast we've done so far. You know what I'm saying? Alonso was saying that he was trying to approach the turn in a different way so that he would get a better exit
Yeah.
out of that particular area.
Yeah. And that he made a mistake and he was trying to make up for it as
Yeah,
well.
they said he slowed down and he realized he was approaching too slow and then sped up again and then slowed down appropriately. The thing is like, okay, I'm like, regardless of what Russell said and regardless of what Alonso said, essentially, I think the stewards, to a certain extent, I think they made the right call in terms of whose fault it was.
Yes.
Saying like Alonso like didn't approach the he went through the corner in an unusual manner that put the driver behind him at risk, which I think everybody can agree on was the data. Everything shows
Yeah.
that's what happened. When it comes to the penalty, on the other hand, I don't I think that's really like up to interpretation how you want to say how a penalty should be laid out. But the conclusion that I came to is that I think the FIA and the stewards purposely make these decisions in certain ways, whether they're fair or not, because it sets a precedent, right? Like you don't want people driving and like essentially pulling brake checks and then getting away with it because like the FIA is all of a sudden going to allow it. So I think yeah, they saw that. I think it's a hard and fast rule that if you kind of go into and out of a turn in an unusual way, when you have a driver that close to you behind you, it's going to be there's going to be some kind of consequences.
I would agree with that. And like the thing is, a lot of people were getting butthurt about the intent.
Yeah.
And I actually don't think Alonso intended for George to like
I don't think
get
so either.
hurt. I don't know where,
Yeah.
and then that kept getting alluded to by George, like if there was like an intent behind it, and I don't think there was an intent behind it to like put him in the wall or put him on the side of the road.
Did he mean intent to like obviously cause him harm or intent to like throw him off so he wouldn't be able to pass him?
I think throw him off, but like I think they expect out of Alonso that he's like a seasoned enough driver. He's a world champion, that he knows what deceleration and acceleration going into a corner is going to do to another driver. Like, regardless of what I don't think the intent was for George to be thrown off to the point where he ended up in an accident. I also don't think the point was to like, I think the point was to hold him off. And I do think Alonso, like, it was called potentially dangerous driving. And I think everyone can say that, like,
Yeah.
regardless of if it was intentional, like Alonso was looking in the back and like, if I decelerate right now, I'm going to get him in like my, my gearbox, and then he's going to like fly off the road because he's going to make an error. You can't think that far ahead, because even George said, he goes, I lost the car.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if Alonso's intent had been to like cause something so that he couldn't pass him, like he couldn't foresee that George was going to lose the car. So it's like, it's kind of a dumb point.
But
I think that the whole point behind like the reason the stewards and the FIA exists, like all the regulations, is because you need to deter from behavior like that. Like you do need to think going into these high speed corners how you are impacting drivers that are less than a second behind you. And he knew that George was less than a second behind him.
I don't know. I don't think Alonso intended to brake check him.
I don't think so.
I think he was trying something and it screwed up.
It didn't work.
But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. Like if you're,
Well, it did work.
If you're, it's, God, it's
worked.
it's the same thing. Like if you're going, you know how they say you can't move under braking?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. Like you may not think that like you may not see that a driver is around you when you're moving under braking and still move.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that's a rule, like, because it's a rule. It's for other driver safety, regardless of whether you know they're around you or not. So
Yeah.
regardless of whether Alonso knew he was there, I mean, it does. I mean, when they do different things like lift and coast and all that, like I get it. There's different things drivers do when they're kind of on their own, driving on their own, managing tires and stuff like that. But Alonso, like, there's no way he didn't know George Russell was right behind
He
him.
knew.
He knew.
He knew. He did know, and he admitted he knew.
Yeah, so
he's
that's
like, I wasn't paying attention when I made the error, but he's like, I knew George was behind me, and that's the point that the steward
Yeah.
said. They're like, you're admitting the, like, you didn't have complete control of the situation, and for that reason, like, you're responsible for your car, you're responsible for how you're driving, and for that reason, this was a potentially dangerous situation.
Yeah.
And you need to be penalized for it.
So I disagree. I don't think it was like intentional.
I didn't say
But
it was
I think
intentional.
no, with George Russell saying it was intentional. But I think it was a mistake.
Yeah.
And I think you have to pay consequences, and it kind of is what it is.
I have a funny little thing about this. I have
Tell me.
I have a thought.
Tell me.
So everyone was like, "Oh yeah, it's 20 seconds." Like that's a lot.
They were saying what?
They're like, "Oh my goodness, it's 20 seconds."
No. What did they say? How did they say?
When you have to do it again, I know my
Oh my
face did
God.
something weird.
Wait, what?
But they were like,
No, sorry. What was
"No,"
that?
they were like, "Oh my god, it's 20 seconds," and
I'm gonna cut that
and-
and replay it.
and like 3 penalty points. Now, a lot of people are like, so you have a right to appeal, and Alonso isn't appealing this
Yeah, no.
because
They're gonna be like, nah,
they
bro.
got off unscathed, technically. So Lance got promoted a position,
Okay.
and Alonso got demoted 2 positions. And so it was 20 seconds, but it actually wasn't a big deal because those 20 seconds were not a lot. Like
Yeah.
it didn't actually harm
It didn't
Aston
impact
Martin.
points like too much.
And it didn't impact the team. So,
Yeah.
like, they didn't get a fine.
Yeah.
And, like, Alonso got 3 penalty points, like, on his license. But they were, like, it was funny because everyone was like, oh, my God, everyone always gets at, like, Alonso. But Alonso's actually had a lot of his, like, decisions appealed and then revoked. And so, like, somebody was, like, wondering if there was, like, a puppeteer in the FIA or the stewards who were just like, let's just say 20 seconds so it sounds like a lot. Nobody questions it, but it's actually not going to
Interesting.
impact him a lot.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if people just have a soft spot for him like they do for Vettel.
Yeah, interesting.
So I thought that was kind of funny.
But
and
they have
helpful.
changed a lot of these like penalties.
Do you
and
know
stuff
about
like
the license penalties? So you can get 12 points on your on your license, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Maximum. If you go over that, things are going to happen. Like you
Like-
can't race. So,
Like
I'm
how
going to
many?
if you go over 12. So they expire. I'm just going to look up a photo here that I took a screenshot here today. They expire annually. Okay. So basically a year from when you end up getting the point, it expires. Does that make sense? So like last year,
It's like I mean, I know in Canada driver's licenses work the same kind of way.
okay, oh no, my screenshot didn't save.
But,
There was a list
it's
of
all
all
good
of
though.
these drivers who had like
yeah. They have a point system.
systems. And so it tells you like when they got their points, and like there's only like 6 or 7 drivers who have 0 points right now. And then of course there's like Nick DeVries, who's like no longer an F1 driver, and he's like an inactive driver who still has points on his license, which I find hilarious. But I think Fernando Alonso has, I think this is all the points he has right now. So
Yeah, that's interesting. They got like a point system going.
I thought it was interesting. You don't
Yeah.
sound very interested by it. But
I'm
that's
really not, because I don't really care. I'll be honest.
fine. Well, like, what if you get your license revoked?
That's cool. We'll deal with it when it happens. But at this point, it's probably not going to happen for most drivers, because most things are just racing incidents, right? Or if you crash, you get a penalty.
Checo got one on the 9th.
Yeah,
too.
I mean,
He has like a lot. I
okay.
think he has like 6 right now.
Yeah, we'll see how that gets implemented. But if it gets to a point where it's like mad drivers are just being like banned from driving, people, even viewers, are going to be like, this is kind of dumb. We need to change this, and the FIA will change it. So, I mean, let's see.
I was really excited about that, but that's fine. Whatever. Who cares?
Point systems
Yeah,
and the licenses.
point
Oh,
system.
so interesting. Let's talk about Sainz going to Red Bull, because that's happening.
What?
Did you want to talk about anything else race related?
Yeah, I was going to
While
talk
you're
about.
looking at your risotto squash
No,
recipe.
I like couldn't pick up the thing.
What? Look at your phone. You have squash risotto on there.
No.
Who was looking at?
What?
Why are you looking at a squash risotto? Let me see your phone. Where
Yeah,
was
because
it?
that was for.
Shortcut butternut squash risotto.
It's gonna be
Don't
really
tell me
good.
this is for our kid.
It is. It is.
God.
Whatever.
F1, dude.
But okay, yeah. He's going to Ferrari, or he's going to
What else about the race? We'll get
No,
into
that's
it.
it. That's it. That's it.
Hamilton, the wheel nut.
I was just proud of Haas, but you said last week you don't want to
Gunter
talk
as
about
the
Haas.
interviewer.
You're like, I don't-
Gunter
you're
Steiner.
like-
I like these notes.
You're like, I don't want to
These
talk
are
about
some
Haas
great notes.
anymore. But they got two positions.
Yeah,
they were
Haas
top
did,
10.
Haas did really well. Haas is...
You're like, I don't want to talk about Haas anymore. But
No.
like, I like talking about Haas.
What was that? How did I say that? I'm gonna clip all these. Dude,
but
Haas did. Yeah, Haas was impressive.
They did great. I
Where
was
did they
super proud
finish?
of them. They finished in 9th and 10th.
Yeah, that's like.
Come on.
That's like, dude. Haas beat. Yeah, I
Everybody.
mean, that's pretty good. I don't know where Hamilton would have ended up.
But this was the thing.
right under Alonso, but I mean, he had the penalty. Whatever.
I
you know.
heard Hulkenberg say, he was like, because everyone was like, oh, is this the come up for like Haas? And he's like, listen, we had 3 DNFs, and out of those 3 DNFs, they were 3 like top drivers.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, we had 1 person not driving.
Yeah.
So you had 4 people basically not in it. So like 20 minus 4 is 16. So if you're the 6 people who are below 10, you messed up.
I wonder if the changing up of team principal there kind of affected things, but having Gunter Steiner be the post-race interviewer,
Leclerc and him were just hilarious.
I knew they weren't gonna let him go out of F1. His personality is just too hilarious to keep him out of Formula One.
He's
I hope
hilarious,
they keep him.
but he should not be an interviewer, because him and Leclerc, the accents are just so strong.
Yeah, they're so strong.
That Leclerc was just like, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Or was it Norris? No,
They
Norris
need to
he was
make him
great
like just a funny color commentator on the side. He'd be so funny.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad to see him kind of still around the F1. No one wants him to go, man. Everyone loves
No.
Gunter. He's the best.
I wanted to. I like. I don't care about what I had written down now. What? What were you saying?
What else? What else is left?
No, I was just talking about people's
What else?
appendixes coming out, and Carlos was like, everyone should get their appendix
Oscar and Norris split.
out. Stop reading my notes. You
Ricardo
don't
and
understand.
Albon. Yeah, Ricardo
Ricardo
struggled.
sucks.
Ricardo
should not
struggled.
be an
I
F1.
was actually watching this whole thing. We'll go into the whole like science thing, but yeah, Ricardo. I was watching something about him
Our
as
podcast?
well. Not our podcast, just another news thing where they were talking about how he's just like the year he was having like in McLaren. That like he's starting to have the same kind of year here in Visa Cash App Red Bull. AlphaTauri.
Such a long name.
No, in AlphaTauri. But that's not good news for him because things are shuffling up. There's a lot of rumors going around, and it seems like because like he's not beating Yuki Tsunoda. He's not doing any better than Yuki Tsunoda right now, and a lot of rumors are swirling around who like what's going to happen with these drivers shuffling around and everything like that, and it doesn't look like, I mean, the more the season goes on and on, it doesn't look like he's going to get that Red Bull seat. And that's like really disappointing. And this is probably like, I think if Daniel doesn't pull it together this season, I am fairly certain he's going to be out of Formula One for good.
And I think he should be. And I've said this in the podcast before. I love Daniel for the color that he brings to Formula One. I love him for like who he is as a person. I just don't think he can put it together anymore. Him leaving Red Bull, I don't know if we'll ever go down like the alternate universe where like he stayed with Red Bull or he stayed with like Renault even. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. He's done. Like he is not producing results. He should not be a Formula One driver. He should... I don't even think he's going to stay with Cash App. Like, I think or Red Bull
No,
or whatever.
I think they're going to demote him right out of the grid. Like, he's not going to be, I don't think he's going to be on the grid.
And I think there was a rumor going around that the whole reason that, like, the whole reason that people thought, like, he might even end up in Red Bull is only because of Horner. Like, Horner wants him there, but the thing is, like, you can have the backing of the team principal as long as he's still a team principal. And then... if he's not, like, obviously he's gone. But like...
but what are you doing wasting your time with Daniel Ricciardo in the AlphaTauri if, you know, the guy's not performing? Like, honestly, that's like a development team for them. It's a Formula One development team that happens
he's doing better.
to be in Formula One. Yeah, there's plenty of people that you can throw in that car that can show you promise, that can fill in that second seat in the main Red Bull team. So,
which I was just kidding. I'm not actually surprised, obviously, when like Sainz goes to Red Bull. Like I'm not gonna be surprised. Perez, but the thing is it's the only thing that's funny to me is like I agree that like Red Bull should be doing 1-2 finishes when they finish. I think out of Sainz and anyone else on the grid right now, I would only agree that Sainz should go to Red Bull because Checo is a great driver. He does know how to put it together, and he has put it together in the Red Bull really well. Like towards the end of last year, he was not doing the results that Red Bull was expecting out of him. But I think that I do think that they need to like mix it up. And when I said last week that like I want to see the talent that's already on the field reshuffled before we see new people brought in, I think there's room for both now. Because if Daniel goes out, maybe like Lawrence will get his act together and take Stroll out.
I doubt that will ever happen.
You know, Perez goes out, and then obviously the shuffle between, you know, Mercedes and Ferrari. Like, I think there's room for like a rookie to come in. They're also talking about this Japanese driver, so every team has to have a rookie driver twice a year.
He's driving Daniel's car this
Yeah, he's driving
race.
Daniel's car.
Yeah. I mean, it's testing.
It's testing, but
they
he's really good too.
Yeah, they want to see how he does in the car and
maybe
what
he'll replace Yuki.
what he's able to pull off. But testing doesn't tell you much because the same thing. Like, I mean, bringing it full circle, like Daniel hopped in the car and ran that test, and he did like really great numbers. And Helmut Marko was just like, "Oh wow, like he did so well. Like let's put him in and everything." But that's only one test. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to actual races, you gotta put the numbers up. He's not putting the numbers up. I think we'll see over the next, like, if he doesn't perform in the next, like, 3 races, I think it kind of shows us where he's at. And then the rest of the season will play out. If it keeps going the same way, I'm pretty sure he's gone.
I think they're thinking about bringing Liam Lawson back in and replacing him out.
Yeah, he was, It's
he
very interesting.
He was just as mediocre, but, like, actually he did a little bit better.
No, and we were talking about this, like some of the rumors and some of the suggestive things you really have to pay attention to in Formula One a little more because I feel like there's a little truth to all of these things. But from what I'm hearing and from what I'm seeing online and different things that are pointing different ways is I'm pretty sure Sainz is going to end up at Red Bull.
Yeah.
I'm seeing different like comments, like it's all these non-committal comments that team principals say and make. And the thing is, I think one thing you have to keep in mind is they have to be very careful about the things that they are saying publicly, because the drivers are going to hear these and see these, and they're going to go back and be like, dude, why is he saying this? I thought we had this discussion and he's giving this weird answer and da da. So they purposely give these non-committal answers when conversations have been had. I don't know, I find it very telling, but Christian, even Toto like said something about Verstappen. He didn't say anything
Damning.
too damning. Yeah, he's like, yeah, anyone would like to have the best driver on the grid. But Christian came out and said, he's like, Sainz is a free agent, and like it's hard to not look at him when he's putting up, the kind of results he's putting up. That's like very telling about what they think. I mean, if you look at it, like Sainz is winning races.
Well, he's winning a race.
If Verstappen, I mean,
You have to say that.
we're still early on, but like you know what I mean. But if Verstappen were still in there, yes, he would be first, but Sainz would be second. Christian wants him wearing a Red Bull uniform, so it's a 1-2 Red Bull all the way through.
Yeah.
Like that's what he wants. So obviously he's gonna like come on the market to be picked up by a team. I think they're gonna cut Checo, they're gonna throw Sainz in there, and I think that's gonna be it. And I think that'll be amazing to see him.
You think they're going to cut Checo, or they're going to demote Checo to maybe like take Daniel at...
What are they going to demote him to? Another reserve driver?
No, to like Cash App, Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's an option for them. But if Checo becomes a free agent...
You know what? The reason that they won't do that is because they still utilize that team to figure out who's the best for Red Bull.
Yeah.
And why would they do that if he's already driven a Red Bull? They don't need that guy anymore. You should cut him.
Well, at the end of the day, it's a Red Bull team and they want to make money. So they want winners. They want people who can drive those cars the best in those teams too. So, I mean, at the end of the day, they can offer Checo whatever they want to offer him. But it also comes down to what he is offered by other teams and what he chooses to accept as well. But I feel like more so than Verstappen going to Mercedes, I think it's becoming very, very likely that Sainz will be in the Red Bull next year.
I agree with you that Sainz will be in the Red Bull next year. I think that towards the 6th race, we'll know if Max is staying or not. I don't think it's 100% yet.
In Red Bull?
Uh-huh.
Really?
I don't think it's 100%.
I highly doubt he goes anywhere.
I don't think it's 100%.
Why?
Yet.
Where are you going to go, dude?
I don't think it's
You want to go race for Haas? God. Who's he going to go? Where is he going to go? Yeah, go to Mercedes and finish like P7 and just pray that Russell doesn't crash into you. What are you going to do, dude? Where are you going to go?
I like go back and forth.
I don't get it.
I think like Max is obviously like not an idiot. But like, I don't know. Maybe they'll take Norris and put him in a friggin' Red Bull. You don't know.
No, I think Norris is sticking with McLaren.
I think he's sticking with McLaren until like 2035 or something. Oh no, that's Zach Brown.
I don't think Norris is going anywhere.
Yeah. He's with Zach forever.
The McLaren is like doing
really well.
Wow, man.
It's
like
Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren are just murking it right now.
Yeah, I think McLaren, and the thing is, this is going to be such an exciting season because you don't know where the development is going to take things. Like Ferrari could like come up, McLaren could come up, like anything could happen. Mercedes, it seems like, is like way out of there.
Did you hear what Toto was saying? I mean, not the thing about him punching himself in the nose. That was hilarious. But like, he was saying, he's like, I still think I'm the best team principal for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't.
I thought it was hilarious that he had to defend himself. He's like, what we're experiencing, he's like, we've experienced highs with me, and this is the first low we're experiencing. And he's like, if there was a better person for this, he's like, I'd be talking to them myself.
I think out of all people, you can't argue Toto Wolff. Like, he's like the Bill Belichick of Formula One. That guy brought them, what, 7 or 8 constructors championships?
7.
7, like,
or 8.
I think it was 8 because they won constructors in 2021 as well. Mm-hmm. You can't. I mean, he is probably one of the best, arguably, team principals in Formula One. Next to, I mean, I guess it depends what your metrics are, but he's won 8 constructors, right? Yeah. Christian has been there the longest, and he's been successful with a couple drivers, Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen. Like, I guess the argument can be made that he's a very good team principal, but I think the numbers speak for themselves when it comes to Toto Wolff. I don't think, He put together a sick team. That's
No,
crazy.
I definitely think that. I definitely think that Carlos should end up at the Red Bull. It's just what it is. It just makes the most sense. I don't think Mercedes is where they're meant to be.
Why would he? I mean, if he's gonna be offered a seat at Merck or Red Bull, he's going to Red
Yeah,
Bull.
you've got like the Red Bulls both saying like, "God, that car is so fast." When they're driving behind them, they're just getting past.
Yeah,
like
that
both
was nuts.
Russell
That's
and Hamilton were just like, "That car is a rocket ship. That car's so
Perez.
fast."
They're not even talking about Verstappen. They're talking about Perez.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Damn, he's fast."
You don't even
Literally.
touch Max usually most races. He's
Crazy.
just driving off into a distance with like a 17
But
second lap.
I don't know.
Like,
Speaking of which, going down that road, like I don't know what's going on with Mercedes, man. They are going through like some kind of like solid decline. It is like it's a little hard to watch, to be honest.
it's
Like
not.
watching
No,
like
it's not. It's so
everything
fun.
aside, it's kind of sad, man, watching them struggle so bad.
No, it's not. It's a game. It's a team.
I know, I get it's a sport, but to see them
You
just
know
have
what?
such
No,
a
but
fall
they
from
don't
grace.
just suck.
It's-
It's not. You know what's harder to watch? Alpine. Alpine.
It's like
Is it Alpine? Yeah, Alpine is like sucking. Like I feel bad for Gasly. That's hard for me to watch. It's not hard for me to watch that. No, George is doing okay in the car. He's putting up results. It's
I
hard
think seeing
for
Lewis.
you to watch Sir Lewis Hamilton. I don't know why you're a softie. Last week you're like, everyone should
Look,
penalty, and now you're just like,
It's
oh,
all good.
Lewis.
No, it's all
Lewis
honestly.
is on a steady decline.
No. It's
Like, when did you like? Where's your Mercedes gear?
dude. It's all good. I'm not saying that. Like whatever. I'm not a Lewis hater. I'm just saying like the dude is like I'm just saying it's sad to see a team just go through that decline so hard and it doesn't seem like there's any hope. It looks like it's just going to keep
It's
going.
so sad, but I just can't help but laugh. That's what you're doing right now.
Yeah,
You're like, it's so sad.
I know. I mean, I just laugh. I'm a funny guy. I just laugh.
I don't find it at all sad. Toto needed a check and a reality check. He was just constantly this figure. He's aged in the past 3 years.
Yeah,
You
he's a
can
weathered
tell that
man.
man is a weathered human being. You know what? Some of us need to be like, not some of us. He needs a little bit of a break. There's a pendulum in life. It swings. You're either on the up
Yeah.
or you're on the down.
But anyway, I think it's gonna obviously be. I think the constructors. We'll see what happens, but I think it's gonna be Red Bull, Ferrari.
Yeah, I don't
and
think
then, like,
Mercedes is gonna be
McLaren.
doing any donuts at the end of this year.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're up there, which is so crazy because it seems like they went like even more backwards compared to last year.
No,
which
I don't
is-
think so. I don't think yet. I
What
think
do you
it's
mean?
too early.
Didn't
No,
they get? What did they get? P2 or P3 in the constructors?
they got P2 last year.
Yeah, like look how they finished this year. Norris, it was Sainz Leclerc, or in Australia. I mean, albeit
They didn't finish.
we're only a few races. Yeah, point being, but were they even contending?
Yeah,
For these
he was
spots, were they?
here. He was here. George was up in like 6th or 7th.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, don't feel too bad for George
but Lewis
Russell.
was, yeah. But anyway, like no, what I'm saying is like I don't think
They're 4th.
as
Oh my God, they're 4th. Look at that.
That's exactly what I'm saying. They're fourth, so 97, 93 for Ferrari. McLaren is 55, Mercedes is 26, albeit they had a double DNF. Red Bull just had a DNF. Both Ferraris finished 1-2. So I feel like the constructors is a little skewed right now, given that last race.
Yeah.
But I do not think Mercedes is even going to get top 3 in constructors this year.
No, I think because Alonso's going to do well. So I think that.
They have to contend
Yeah.
with Alonso. The McLarens, Piastri, and Norris are like on their game right now.
Yeah, the great thing
Sainz
is that
killing
Stroll
it right
isn't
now.
he's not a very good driver.
Verstappen is going to be like, a whole day ahead of everybody,
Yeah.
And I think if Perez gets it together, it's going to be a problem. Like the whole
Perez carried the team last week.
the whole
or last
field
couple
is
days ago.
is shifting so much now
Yeah.
that it's a problem for Mercedes.
Yeah. Well, you got Kick Sauber who can't get their wheel nuts proper.
God, dude, I didn't even read about that. Don't know what's going on there.
It's hilarious. They like have these new wheel nuts because they've done some maneuvering with their tires, and the wheel guns are just not sufficient at getting the nuts off. So they had to purposefully do this like the car standing for 5 seconds. But
I think
Like-
they had to slowly take it off and slowly put it on or something like that.
That's ridiculous.
Call the pit stop, dude. Whole idea is to do it fast. I don't know what's going on with that,
That team
They need
just
to figure it out.
Needs help. And Bottas, I mean,
I love Bottas.
I love him. He does not deserve that. He has like the longest pit stop like on record, which is like a day or something.
like 2 days or something. So crazy.
So crazy. So it looks like Christian may stay the principal.
Yeah.
That part's kind of good.
I don't think he's. I mean,
Going
we'll see,
anywhere.
man. Different, crazier things have happened.
I think it's nice that like that's kind of out of the news cycle a little bit. It was getting a bit old.
Yeah, it was getting a little much, and we'll be out until it's back in. You know.
And hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
What else?
I don't know. I think that's it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's it.
Let me
What's
check my
next?
notes. Let me check my notes.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
notes are
that's
better
it.
than mine.
That's it. No, you had some solid notes. I didn't take that many notes.
One of my notes
No.
was everyone should get their appendix out. That's a dumb note.
It's a funny joke. That's
it was
such a funny joke.
hilarious.
Where did you hear that?
I wish. I wish. I wish.
Um,
Who's next?
but
Where
I-
are we going next? I
I
think it's
think
April
that's
5th. Is it April we go next?
we have the weekend off. We're heading to
Aw.
Japan, Suzuka, right?
Suzuka. It's our anniversary.
Yeah. So that'll be a fun race.
I'm so
Japan,
excited for Japan.
Such a sick. I want to go to Japan. They
I
have
would love
such a
to go to
sick
Japan.
racing culture out there.
I can't wait to go to Japan.
Um,
It's Japan and then China, which I'm super freaking excited about because we
Yeah.
haven't been there in years. And then we come back to the United States for Miami.
Oh, sick.
I'm so excited.
We head to Italy and everything. I'm
this
excited for the rest of the season. So
It's gonna be fun.
we got a bit of a break for a weekend and then back at it after that.
Yeah. Gonna get some
Cool.
work done.
Yeah. As always, make sure you guys subscribe on Spotify, YouTube. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Instagram.
We're on
at,
TikTok. That's so fun.
F1 My Life. Yeah, we're on everything. We're on YouTube Shorts. So follow us at F1 My Life on YouTube. I think on TikTok it's at f1mylife.podcast. On Instagram it's just at f1mylife. Is it podcast as well on Instagram? I think it's, well, you guys know, I'll link everything and whatever. And then obviously Spotify is where we post. You can watch the full, listen to and watch the video. I have the video version. It's F1 My Life podcast on Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
And then at f1mylife.podcast for TikTok.
Yep. We're on
Super fun.
TikTok.
TikTok. It's so fun. I love TikTok. I'd never had TikTok before, so I'd never even looked
They
at
might
TikTok.
ban it though, so that's good.
But
you
we're in
know?
Canada,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. We'll see.
that's cool. But yeah.
That's it.
Bye.
Okay, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.